Hello, this is Ann Cowan, and welcome. The technology framework that I utilize to create this lesson is the TPACK knowledge. Using different technology tools enhances the lesson for both myself and my students. We gain together a diverse delivery of this lesson that will engage and enhance learning. As we proceed, I will point out the different places where and how the model is being used. Let me introduce you to Nearpod. I feel that Nearpod, with its many tools, is wonderful for engagement. I can have my students quickly give me feedback as a teacher, and I can quickly assess where my students are in the lesson. The technical tools are present throughout this lesson. I took the fact that my students' age and abilities when applying my technical knowledge, or the TK of the TPACK framework. This lesson focuses on the NC Essential 3rd Grade Science Standard 3.L.2.3, summarizing the distinct stages of the life cycle of seed plants. NC Writing Standards W.3.2.C develop the topics with facts, definitions, and details. NC Standard W.3.6, recall information from experiences or gather information from print and digital sources, take brief notes on sources, and sort evidence into provided categories. The ISTE Standard 1.6, creative communicator. 1.6C, communicate complex ideas. Students will use digital tools to visually communicate complex ideas to others. By using different assessments throughout, I am giving my students ample strategies to meet their needs and the requirements of this lesson. This is also presenting a pedagogical knowledge that I am using the TPACK framework. After participating in the lesson, 3rd grade science students will be able to summarize the 5 stages of a plant's life cycle with 90% accuracy by creating a Google slide presentation. After learning about the life cycle of a plant, 3rd grade students will be able to discuss at least one fact about the life cycle of a plant in a written response. After participating in a science lab, students will be able to sort 5 stages of the life cycle of a plant with 100% accuracy. And after participating in this lesson, 3rd grade science students will be able to use digital tools to visually communicate the 5 stages of a plant's life cycle. My context knowledge of the life cycle of plants is shown with the repetitive nature of this lesson. This slide is the beginning of the hook. I asked the students to call on prior knowledge using the cognitivism learning theory. The students asked to think of words that contain the root word cycle. The students will give their answers on the next Nearpod slide. Using Nearpod is effective and simple. With the first few slides, I have feedback on what the students know or don't know about the root word cycle. With the ISTE Standards for Educators 2.5a, Accommodate Learning Differences, I have differentiated the lesson by checking all the options to allow students to answer all the questions in this lesson with audio if they so choose. I have picked some age-appropriate graphics on my answer page, and the students are asked to reflect on their answers and see what matches up. Inspired by behavioral theory of learning, I have included agendas and reminders throughout my presentation, and I also give positive feedback often. Using Edpuzzle for this video is a more efficient way to show the different stages of plant growth. Another example of differentiation experiences for this lesson. I have included audio notes pointing out different stages. This will enhance my lesson for those who struggle with reading. I have also allowed video setting speeds. The students will be able to speed up or slow down the video based on their personal needs. The background music is very soothing and should help some students gain a good mental space to learn. The first stage is tools within Nearpod. They are a quick check to make sure my students are still with me, to see if I need to slow down or speed up to answer questions. The ISTE Standard for Educators 2.7b states to use tech to create assessments. While I am talking, I also am thinking about cognitivism learning theory. During the content, I remind the students of a prior lesson, the plant structures and functions. This is done intentionally so the students connect this new information with learned information. The technological knowledge of inserting a quick yes/no message gives my students a small brain break and gives me instant feedback. You'll also see that I utilize a small picture box for sample directions of these polls. Another agenda break. The patterns through this lesson align with behavioralist theory of learning. I set expectations that we are going to continue this lesson. I understand the best practices for teaching this lesson to my 3rd grade science students. This shows my pedagogical content knowledge of the TPACK framework is also aligned with this lesson. The interactive lab activity reinforces the lesson and gives the students unlimited practice to list the stages of plant growth. During this online is more efficient than cutting and pasting paper. It's also safer in a special education behavior room. The unlimited tries to enhance the lesson especially for those students who need extra practice. This is the constructivism theory of learning. It is simply when learning is built upon personal experience. The virtual science lab supports this theory. The students will also be able to complete the third objective. After participating in a science lab, students will be able to sort the 5 stages of the life cycle of a plant with 100% accuracy. As a facilitator, checking in on my students lets them know I care. Also note that ISTE 2.6D standard of model of nature creativity is part of the design for the frequency of these polls. This is another agenda slide. This slide also discusses technology usage and respect. This is an ISTE standard for educators 2.3A, create positive experiences. By stating my expectations for the next slide, the students will be prepared for a positive discussion. You will also see that the standard represented on the next slide. I will use content knowledge of the TPACK framework to assure that my goal of the tools are being used in this lesson are interactive and delivered consistently over the time of the lesson. In this discussion board, I have posted an accountable talk STEM words. These are softly to remind students of my expectations. The discussion board enhances our classroom community. Using this tool is more efficient than doing an anchor chart. Everyone can see their ideas listed on this board. The ISTE Educator Standards 2.5C, create innovative learning environments, is met. I have a way to assess the students, and they have a chance to share their voices. The discussion board also allows the second objective of this lesson to be met. After learning about the life cycle of a plant, third grade students will be able to discuss at least one fact about the life cycle of a plant in a written response. Design an introduction and instruction for the final project, including a mock slideshow. The students have a choice. They can present a comic book with a summary of the lesson, or they may record audio or a visual of the summary of the lesson. The presentation allows students to use digital tools to communicate complex ideas, which is the ISTE 1.6C, communicate complex ideas. By giving the students a choice in how to complete this project, I have differentiated this project, but I expect the same outcomes. The tech tools that started with a video and thumbs up poll have now evolved into an intense student project using the pedagogical knowledge from the TPACK framework. My goal is to grow my students step by step to deliberate presentation. The Google slide presentation will complete my first objective for the lesson. After participating in the lesson, third grade science students will be able to summarize the 5 stages of a plant's life cycle with 90% accuracy by creating a presentation of their choice. My understanding of the content of the best strategies for teaching, including tech tools, gives my student an optimal lesson for learning and processing new information. We gain together a diverse delivery of this lesson that will engage and enhance learning.